Hello, my name is Charlie, and I'm from a studio called Colossus Studios, and we've been working on a game called Tyranny of the Blackguards. First off, I'm going to tell you about the story of this game and basically what it's all about. So, your character that you play as and create at the beginning of the game can either be preset or you can use that preset to then work on your own. It could be male, female, different body types, voice lines, however you want him to be. Now, the world that the story is set in is hundreds of years after there was a big war between superheroes and villains, and the villains ended up winning and killing every superhuman that was on the planet. Now, after all this fighting, they decided to experiment and work out how the superhumans were superhumans, and eventually they worked this out and found out a way of identifying them after they were born through these machines. Now, your character has a special power where they could never be identified, and you didn't really know what your power was. Now, because your power is actually you have everything, you can do whatever you want, but it's constantly changing. Their machines became faulty, they didn't work, they were unsure, so they just thought you were normal and it was just their machines. Really, it was you, and the machines didn't understand who you were, what you were. And so your character, through that power, because your powers are changing, your body's always changing, you don't age nearly as fast as everyone else on the planet. And so you've lived for hundreds of years. You've lived as long as this tyranny of the Blackguards has lasted. So as the story goes on, you're trying to find out about this group of heroes that have been promoting themselves as trying to stop the villains. And as you go through the game and you start to encounter more of these bad guys, you realize I need to fight these people, and you find out that you have the power that you chose at the beginning of the game. And as you go through the game, you can change this with upgrades, and the villains will react to this. Now, as you go on the game, you can also get people to join you so that you have a larger team, and you can keep going and sort of build your team so that towards the end of the game, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Now, my inspirations for the game were the Infamous series, particularly Infamous Second Son, because of its fast-paced action between melee and range combat, as well as your character had the ability to take other people's powers, which I like to sort of compare to how you can change your powers through evolution. And so I also like to take inspiration from the Mass Effect series because of their combat trees and their conversation trees, and how they affected the story and the world, which is what you could do in this. Except in our game, what it tells you is exactly what your character is going to say, so you don't have to worry about it saying the wrong thing. Now, the main features: we have fast-paced action combat. So it's easy to pick up, but it's quite difficult to master, sort of like the Batman Arkham series. You've got dynamic weather, which is I like to compare to the Last of Us weather system of how each act was in a different weather. Depending on the weather, you reacted differently. So if it's snowing, you're going to have to act differently. You can't just walk through it normally. You've got to wade through it. You've got to lift up your legs. You've really got to push through it, and so you're going to walk a lot slower. It's easier if you're on horse, for example. Then the game can be played over hundreds of years, so the world and characters are going to change. People are going to die. People are going to live a lot older. That you might meet older people where you met when they were kids. It's all going to be very different. The world's going to change. Buildings are going to be different, for example. Dynamic conversations, as I mentioned before. You've got an always active world, so there's lots to see, lots to do, lots of quests, lots of items to pick up that could lead on to more quests, for example. You have the enemies that react to what you do. When you change your powers, they're not going to know what they're going to expect your other power and be ready to attack that. But because you've changed your power, they're going to be easier to take out. But if they start to learn that, then you're going to have to change again. Otherwise, you're going to become vulnerable. And the music that will be in the game, I'm going to have some playing now. There's going to be music that will be included in the game. I've made a playlist which I will link in the video, in the video's description, that you can go to and have a look at to see the kind of music that I'm basing it off. There will also be a separate soundtrack that will be on radio stations that you can listen to, so you'll have the game's soundtrack as well as licensed music. So the world and characters. The world takes place in New York State rather than just a city, so it allows for lots of different environments. So you've got your cities, you've got your forests, you've got lots of different things, you've got different cultures of people, different religions, people that have different beliefs, especially in a world like this where you've got superheroes and villains. It's all, there may be people that don't like them, people that think they're gods, for example. The main character is randomly generated, like I said at the beginning, and then you can fully customize them how you want. There's lots of different characters that you can meet depending on your choices. Some might want to be with you, some might become enemies, some might just not become part of the story because you didn't see them. The world has lots to do, like I said before, as well. Now, our Kickstarter plan, we're going to have the project up for 60 days, and there's going to be lots of different benefits to supporting us. This could be if you pay, say, $50, you get a copy of the game once it's fully launched, as well as beta testing. And you could even be in the game itself if you pay a lot more money. You may want to be in the game if you really think this game is something you want to be part of. It'll start at $1 if you just want to support us and help us reach our goal, and go as high as over thousands of dollars if you really want to. Now here I've got some concept art which we came up with very, very early on. So we've got an overview of a city, because at the time we weren't really sure where we were going to set the game. We've also got a concept for the opening cutscene. So this is when your character decides that he can't go through this anymore. Everyone's chained up when they go through these machines. They can't, so they don't just run off. And he's decided he's had enough of it. He wants to find out who this group are and find them. Got an early concept for an enemy here, wearing very basic armor, basic suit. He's just prepared for sort of rights of normal people. He's not prepared for actual superheroes because there's not really any of them. And there's a variation of the preset that you would get once it's randomized of the main character. So now I'd just like to thank you for watching this video. Thank you for finding this Kickstarter and taking the time to watch this. And we really hope that you'll back us. And thank you.
Remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain.